Last week, a retired park ranger released 37 minutes of footage showing him conducting what appears to be an actual conversation with a Bigfoot, and a linguistics professor confirmed the vocalizations follow consistent grammatical patterns across multiple recordings. Known skeptics are now saying this is the first evidence they can't easily dismiss, and the video is currently locked behind NDAs that researchers had to sign just to view it. But here's what's keeping me up at night. If you finally had definitive proof that could change everything we know, releasing it would put that creature in danger. Would you show the world, or would you keep the secret? Hey guys, I'm Mr. Hark, and today I need to show you something that came out last week. Something that has people arguing in ways I've never seen before. A video showed up on a private forum 7 days ago. It's 37 minutes long. In it, you can see a man sitting on a log in a forest clearing. He's talking out loud, asking questions like you would ask a friend. And sitting 20 feet away from him, partially hidden in shadow but clearly visible, is something big, something that shouldn't be there. The man says his name is Marcus Webb. He says he's a former park ranger, and he claims the thing sitting across from him is a Bigfoot. But here's where it gets weird. The creature doesn't just sit there, it responds. When Marcus asks a question, it makes sounds back. Not random howls or screams like you hear in those fake videos on YouTube. These are structured sounds. They have rhythm. They have pauses in between, like the creature is thinking about what to say next. And according to a college professor who studies language, these sounds follow patterns. The same patterns that real languages follow. The professor's name is Dr. Elena Voss. She teaches at a university. She spent her whole career studying how humans talk and how language works. She listened to all 37 minutes of audio from Marcus's videos. She ran tests on the sound files. And she said something that made my hands go cold when I read it. She said the creature uses the same phrase 14 times across the 3 videos Marcus recorded. Every single time Marcus says thank you, the creature makes the exact same sound pattern back. That's not random. That's not a guy in a suit making stuff up. That's communication. Now, I know what you're thinking. Every year, someone claims they have the real Bigfoot video. Every year, it turns out to be fake or blurry or just another guy in a gorilla costume from a party store. I've covered those stories. I've laughed at those stories. But this one is different. I've watched known skeptics, people who have spent years debunking Bigfoot claims, sit down and watch this footage. And they don't laugh. They don't roll their eyes. They go quiet. One of them, a guy who runs a whole website about fake cryptid videos, posted a response that just said, "I don't know what this is, but it's not like anything I've seen before." That reaction alone should tell you something. When the people whose job it is to call out fakes can't call this one out, you need to pay attention. Before we go further, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. This story is going to mess with you in ways you're not ready for. Trust me on that. So let's talk about Marcus Webb, because if this video is real, if what we're seeing is actually what he says it is, then we need to know who this man is. Marcus worked as a park ranger for 20 years, 2 full decades walking the same forests, checking the same trails, helping lost hikers find their way back to safety. In all that time, he never once filed a Bigfoot report, never called into a radio show with a crazy story, never posted blurry photos online trying to get attention. His record is clean. His coworkers say he was the kind of guy who showed up on time, did his job, and went home. Boring in the best way. Not the type of person who suddenly decides to create an elaborate hoax after retiring. And that's another thing. Marcus didn't release this video while he was still working. He didn't try to make money off it. He didn't sell it to a news station or put it on YouTube with ads. He sat on this footage for 5 years. 5 whole years of keeping this secret while the world kept arguing about whether Bigfoot was real or not. He had what everyone wanted, and he said nothing. He only released it last week, months after he retired and moved away from the area. And when you hear his reason for finally showing people, when you understand why he kept quiet for so long and why he's talking now, it changes everything. It makes you wonder if keeping a secret is sometimes the right thing to do, even when that secret could answer one of the biggest questions humans have ever asked. The video is not public. You can't just search for it and watch it. Right now, It's being shared only among researchers and scientists who signed legal papers promising not to share it widely or reveal where it was filmed. Marcus edited out every landmark, every road sign, every identifying feature that could tell people where this clearing is located. The forest in the video could be anywhere, and that was on purpose. Several experts have looked at the video file itself, checking the data hidden inside it to see if it was edited or faked using computer programs. So far, no one has found evidence of tampering. No signs of CGI, no costume seams, no clever camera tricks. Just 37 minutes of a man sitting across from something that moves too fluidly to be a suit, breathes too naturally to be animated, and responds to questions in ways that suggest understanding. But here's what keeps me up at night. Here's the question I can't stop thinking about. Marcus said something at the end of his video that hit me harder than any of the footage itself. He looked straight at the camera and said this: "Everyone wants proof until proof means putting someone in danger." He released just enough to make people think, just enough to change some minds, but not enough to turn that forest into a hunting ground, not enough to send people with guns and traps and dollar signs in their eyes into those trees looking for a trophy. And that leaves us with an impossible question. If you finally had definitive proof, real proof that could change everything we know about what's out there in the wild places, but releasing it would put that creature in danger, would you show the world or would you keep the secret? Marcus's story starts in the spring of 2019. He was doing what he'd done 1,000 times before, walking a routine patrol through his section of forest. The trail he followed that day was one he knew by heart. Every fallen log, every twist in the path, every place where water gathered after rain. He could walk it with his eyes closed. But on this particular morning, something was different. About 2 miles into the forest, he noticed marks on the trees. Not the kind of marks animals make when they scratch bark or rub against trunks. These were deliberate. Branches had been broken at specific heights, all around shoulder level for someone very tall. The breaks were clean, bent at angles that looked purposeful. Marcus had seen tree markers before. Hikers sometimes break branches to mark their path so they don't get lost. But these were different. They formed a line leading deeper into the woods, away from any established trail, away from anywhere tourists would go. Marcus followed them. He told himself he was just being thorough, doing his job, checking for illegal activity. But in the audio recording he made later, you can hear something else in his voice. Curiosity, maybe a little bit of fear. The markers led him to a clearing he'd never seen before, even after 20 years of walking those woods. The clearing was small, maybe 30 feet across, surrounded by thick pine trees that blocked most of the sunlight. In the center of this clearing, someone had arranged rocks, not scattered randomly, arranged. The rocks formed circles, 3 circles of different sizes laid out in a row from biggest to smallest. Next to the circles, a line of stones pointed toward the rising sun. Marcus stood there for a long time just looking at it. He checked for footprints, but the ground was covered in pine needles and hard-packed dirt. Nothing clear. He took photos with his phone. Then he did something that changed everything. He left. But 3 days later, he came back. This time he brought a small notebook and a pen, the kind of notebook kids use for school, spiral-bound with lined paper. He set it on a flat rock in the middle of the clearing, placed the pen on top, and walked away. He didn't really expect anything to happen. He figured maybe it was teenagers messing around or another hiker playing games, but something in him wanted to know. I needed to know. When he returned 2 days after that, the notebook was still there, but it wasn't empty anymore. Someone had drawn in it. The drawings were crude, done with heavy dark lines like a child might make, but they were clear enough to understand. The first drawing showed an elk, 4 legs, antlers, the basic shape was all there. The second drawing showed trees, just simple triangles for the pine shape. The third drawing showed stick figures, 3 of them, 1 tall, 1 medium, 1 small. A family. Marcus's hands shook when he picked up the notebook. He flipped through the pages and found more drawings. Circles like the rock pattern in the clearing, a simple map showing mountains in a valley, and on the last page with marks on it, a drawing of what looked like a hand. 5 fingers were clearly visible, but the proportions were off. The hand was too big compared to the arm. Marcus took the notebook back to his truck. He sat in the driver's seat for over an hour just staring at those drawings. He told himself 100 different explanations. Kids from town, hiking out here, a homeless person living in the woods, another park ranger playing a prank. But none of those explanations felt right. Kids wouldn't come this far off trail. A homeless person wouldn't stay in an area this remote in this cold at night. And his co-workers weren't the type to waste time on elaborate jokes. Whatever made those drawings was still out there, still in his forest, and it was trying to tell him something. That realization, Marcus said later, kept him awake for 3 straight nights. Because if something in those woods wanted to communicate, if it had the intelligence to understand that a notebook and pen were tools for sharing information, then everything he thought he knew about what lived in that forest was wrong. The first time Marcus tried to make contact, he brought a small voice recorder, the kind reporters use for interviews. He walked back to the clearing in the early morning when the light was still gray and the birds were just starting to sing. He sat down on a log at the edge of the clearing and turned on the recorder. Then he spoke out loud. His voice sounded strange to him, talking to empty air. He said simple things. "Hello, my name is Marcus. I found your drawings. Thank you for sharing them with me." He asked simple questions. "Are you nearby? Can you hear me? Do you understand my words?" He felt ridiculous, but he kept talking for about 10 minutes. Then he did something clever. He played back his own recording. He let his voice echo out into the forest from the tiny speaker, showing that he could capture sound and return it, showing reciprocity. Then he left the recorder on the rock, still running, and walked back toward the trail. 3 days later, he returned and picked up the recorder. His heart pounded so hard, he could feel it in his throat as he pressed play. For the first few minutes, nothing, just wind and bird sounds and the rustle of leaves. Then, at the 8-minute mark, something else. A sound, deep and resonant, not a howl, not a scream. It had structure. It went up and down in pitch like speech does. There were pauses between sounds like the thing making them was thinking about what to say next. Marcus played it 5 times right there in the clearing. Each time his skin prickled. These weren't animal sounds. Animals don't pause. Animals don't modulate their voices with that kind of control. This was something trying to respond, trying to answer. Marcus kept coming back. Same clearing, same time of day. 3 months of visits. Each time he brought the recorder. Each time he spoke. And slowly, gradually, he started getting responses while he was there. He would ask a question and from somewhere in the trees would come those structured sounds. That's when he decided he needed more than just audio. That's when he brought the camera. The footage starts with Marcus setting up the camera. You can see his hands adjusting the tripod, making sure it's steady on the uneven ground. The camera points toward the clearing. Marcus walks into frame and sits down on the same log he'd been using for months. He's wearing his ranger uniform, the green jacket with the Park Service patch on the shoulder. He looks nervous. His hands keep moving, rubbing his knees, adjusting his hat. He clears his throat and starts talking. He says the same greeting he's been saying for weeks now. "Hello, I'm here again. I brought the drawings you made." He holds up the notebook, shows it to the camera and to the empty clearing. For almost 2 minutes, nothing happens. Marcus sits there alone, talking to trees. You can hear birds in the background, wind moving through branches. Normal forest sounds. Then the birds go quiet. Marcus notices. His head turns slightly to the left. His whole body goes still in that way people do when they're trying not to spook something. The camera doesn't move. It's locked on the tripod pointing at Marcus and the space beyond him. But you can see movement in the background, something large shifting between the trees. It's subtle at first, just shadows changing. Then a shape separates from the darkness under the pines. It's big. The word doesn't even feel strong enough. It's massive, broader than any person, taller by at least 2 feet than a normal man. The figure moves slowly, each step deliberate and careful. Not sneaking exactly, but cautious. The way you'd approach a strange dog. The way you'd move if you weren't sure what would happen next. It stops about 20 feet from Marcus, far enough to run if needed, close enough to be clearly visible on camera. The first thing you notice is the hair. It covers everything, dark brown, shaggy, catching bits of filtered sunlight that make it look almost reddish in places. The shoulders are huge, sloped and powerful like you see on gorillas in nature documentaries. But the posture is different, more upright. The arms are long, hanging down past where human arms would end, but they don't drag on the ground. The hands are visible for just a moment before the figure sits down. 5 fingers. The face is partially in shadow, but you can see the shape of it. A heavy brow, deep-set eyes that catch the light once and reflect it back toward the camera in a way that makes your stomach flip. Not like animal eyes glow in headlights. Subtler, more aware. The figure lowers itself to the ground in one smooth motion, cross-legged, mirroring how Marcus is sitting. That detail stuck with me. The mirroring. That's what primates do. What humans do. It's social behavior. Marcus doesn't run. His voice shakes a little when he speaks, but he doesn't run. He says, "Thank you for coming. Thank you for trusting me." And the figure responds. The sound it makes is deep enough that you can almost feel it through the speakers. It starts low, rises in the middle, then drops again at the end. It lasts about 3 seconds. Marcus nods like he understood something. He reaches slowly for the notebook and opens it to the page with the stick figure family. He points to the drawing and then asks his question out loud. "Is this your family?" The figure leans forward. Its head tilts down to look at the notebook, even though it's too far away to see the details clearly. It makes another sound, different from the first, shorter, 2 distinct parts with a pause between them. Then it does something that made my hands go cold when I first watched it. It lifts one hand and touches its own chest. Then it points toward the notebook. Then it holds up 3 fingers. 3, like the 3 stick figures in the drawing. Marcus's voice cracks when he says, "You have a family. 3 of you." The figure makes that same short 2-part sound again. Later in the video, Marcus asks a different question. He's more comfortable now, been sitting there for almost 15 minutes. The figure hasn't moved to leave. It's still sitting there, occasionally shifting its weight or turning its head to look at different parts of the clearing. Marcus says, "Are there others like you?" "Not just your family, others." The figure goes very still. For a long moment, nothing happens. Then it lifts both hands. It holds up fingers, not 3 this time, more. It's hard to count exactly because the hands move, but it looks like 8 or 9 fingers raised. Then it lowers its hands and sweeps one massive arm out in a wide arc, pointing toward the distance where mountains rise beyond the trees. The gesture is clear. Yes, others, out there in the mountains. Marcus doesn't say anything for a few seconds. He just sits there processing what he's seeing. You can see him swallow hard. When he finally speaks, he says, "That's incredible. That's just incredible." And the figure makes that same 3-second sound it made at the very beginning. The one it made right after Marcus said thank you. That sound, that specific pattern, shows up 14 times across the 3 videos Marcus recorded. Elena Voss caught it when she analyzed all the audio files. Every single time Marcus says thank you, the creature makes that exact sound back. Same pitch, same length, same pattern. Voss has been studying human language for 30 years. She knows what random sounds look like on an audiograph. She knows what actual language patterns look like. And she said in her written report that the sounds this creature makes have phoneme patterns that repeat with grammatical consistency. Phonemes are the basic building blocks of language, the smallest units of sound that carry meaning. This creature isn't just grunting. It's using structured communication. It has a phrase for acknowledgement or gratitude or something in that range, and it uses that phrase appropriately in context. A body language expert watched the footage too. His name is Dr. Richard Cole, and he spent his career studying how humans and animals move. He works with law enforcement sometimes, teaching them how to read suspects during interviews. He looked at the figure in Marcus's video and wrote down his observations. 0 signs of costume restriction. That was his first point. When people wear costumes, even really good ones, their movement is limited. Fabric bunches, zippers create tension. People have to be careful about how they bend or reach. This figure moves fluidly. Its shoulders roll naturally when it shifts position. Its arms swing with proper weight and momentum. The breathing is natural too. You can see the chest expand and contract in rhythm. Not the shallow breathing you get when someone's nervous about being caught in a hoax. Deep, steady, calm breathing. But the detail that got me, the one that made me watch the video 5 times in a row, happens around minute 23. Marcus is talking, explaining something about his job as a ranger. Mid-sentence, he starts coughing. Just a regular cough, the kind you get when dry air hits your throat wrong. The figure immediately leans back, pull away slightly, and wait. It doesn't ignore the cough. It doesn't keep doing whatever it was doing. It responds the way any person would when someone near them suddenly coughs. It gives space. It pauses the interaction. When Marcus stops coughing and says, "Excuse me," the figure leans back in and makes a soft sound, almost questioning. "Are you okay?" That's what it felt like. That moment of natural social awareness. You can't fake that. You can't script that kind of reactive behavior and make it look real. Marcus kept those videos hidden for 5 years. From 2019 until last week, he told no one. Not his coworkers, not his friends, not even his family. He had what millions of people have been searching for since the first Bigfoot sighting was reported. Clear footage, multiple angles, sustained contact, proof that would end decades of arguments and debates. And he locked it away on an external hard drive and put that hard drive in a drawer and went to work every day like nothing had happened. When people ask him why, his answer is simple. He made a promise. In the third and final video Marcus recorded, there's a moment near the end that explains everything. Marcus stands up from the log. He's been sitting there for almost 40 minutes at this point. His legs are probably stiff. The light is starting to change as afternoon moves toward evening. He picks up the camera from the tripod. The footage gets shaky for a second as he adjusts his grip. Then he walks slowly toward the figure. Each step is careful, telegraphed, non-threatening. The figure watches him come closer but doesn't move away. When Marcus gets within about 10 feet, he stops. He turns the camera around so the lens is facing him instead of the creature. His face fills the screen. He looks tired, older than his years. He says, "I want to show you something." Then he turns the camera back around, pointing it at the figure again. He gestures to the camera with his other hand. He says, "This box captures images. It captures you and me. Other people can see those images later. Do you understand?" The figure tilts its head. Marcus continues. He says, "I promise I will keep these images safe. I will not let bad people to see them. I will not bring others here. You can trust me." His voice breaks a little on those last words. The figure looks at the camera for a long moment. Then it looks at Marcus. Something passes between them in that look. Some kind of understanding that doesn't need words. The figure makes a low sound, just one soft rumble from deep in its chest. Marcus nods. He says, "Thank you." And the figure makes that same 3-second sound pattern it always makes when Marcus says thank you. Then Marcus walks backward to his spot, sets the camera back on the tripod, and sits down again. That was the promise, spoken out loud, witnessed on video. Marcus told this creature he would protect it, and for 5 years he did exactly that. But something changed last month. The reason Marcus finally released the footage has nothing to do with wanting attention or trying to make money or getting tired of keeping the secret. It has to do with construction permits. A development company bought a large section of forest land about 15 miles from where Marcus used to work. The company plans to clear 200 acres of trees to build a resort. Cabins for tourists, hiking trails with markers and maps, a visitor center with a gift shop. The permits got approved. The construction is set to start in 3 months. When Marcus heard about it, he looked at a map. He measured distances, and he realized the clearing where he met the figure, the place where those 3 videos were recorded, sits right at the edge of the development zone, maybe inside it. The maps weren't detailed enough to be sure. All he knew was that if bulldozers came through that area, if work crews started cutting down trees and blasting roads through the forest, everything would change. The figure and its family would have to leave or risk being discovered. and Marcus had promised to keep them safe. That's when he made his decision. He couldn't stop the construction. He didn't have that kind of power or money, but he could do something else. He could release enough footage to show people what's out there, to prove that these beings exist and deserve protection, but not so much that it would create a hunting ground. Not enough to bring people with guns and greed into those woods. So he edited the videos carefully. He cut out every single frame that showed identifiable landmarks. Anytime a mountain peak was visible in the background, he cropped it out. Anytime the angle of sunlight might tell someone what direction the camera was facing, he adjusted the color and exposure. He removed the audio of his own footsteps walking to and from the clearing because the sound of gravel or the crunch of specific plants might give away the location. What he released was just the important parts. The figure sitting there, the communication, the gestures, the proof, but nothing that could lead people back to that exact spot. He shared the edited footage with a small group of researchers first, scientists who study primates, language experts, people who had the knowledge to understand what they were seeing, but also the ethics to respect why it needed to stay protected. He asked each of them to sign a legal document, a non-disclosure agreement that said they would not share the videos publicly. They would not try to find the location. They would not organize expeditions or publish maps or give interviews that might spark a search. Most of them signed. The ones who didn't were cut out of the group immediately. Marcus wasn't playing around. Several of those researchers have now examined the video files in detail. They've looked at the metadata, the hidden information embedded in the file that shows when and how it was created. They've checked for signs of computer editing or special effects. They've run the footage through programs that detect manipulation. So far, every single expert who has looked at it says the same thing. There's no evidence of fakery, no CGI markers, no costume tells, no clever tricks with lighting or angles. Just 37 minutes of footage showing something that shouldn't exist, having a conversation with a man who thought he knew everything about the forest he worked in for 20 years. Marcus ends his explanation with a statement that's been quoted all over the internet in the past week. He looks directly into the camera and says, "I didn't get proof that Bigfoot exists. I got proof that we're not ready to know." He talks about what would happen if the location got out, the hunters who would come, the people who see dollar signs instead of a living being, the thrill seekers with drones and night vision cameras, the researchers who would want to capture one for study, put it in a facility somewhere, run tests, take samples, and all in the name of science, all while destroying the very thing they claim to want to understand. Marcus says he's watched enough nature documentaries to know how this story ends, and he refuses to be the person who starts that ending. The final clip in the video shows the figure standing up to leave. It's been sitting there for almost the entire 40 minutes, patient and still. But now it rises in one fluid motion. It looks at Marcus one more time. Then it does something that made my throat tight when I saw it. The figure places one hand over its chest, right over where a human heart would be. It holds it there for 2 full seconds. Marcus watches. Then slowly, carefully, he mirrors the gesture. He puts his own hand over his heart. They stay like that for a moment. 2 beings from completely different worlds sharing a gesture of respect and goodbye. Then the figure turns and walks back into the trees. Within 3 steps, it's gone. Just shadows and branches again, like it was never there at all. So here's where we are. The video exists. Experts have seen it. Some believe it. Some are still skeptical, but can't explain what they're seeing. And all of us are left with Marcus's question. What would you do with footage like this? Would you release everything? Give the world what it's been asking for? Or would you do what Marcus did? Show just enough to change some minds, but keep the most important secret buried? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And remember, sometimes the most human thing we can do is keep a promise, even when breaking it would give us everything we ever wanted to know.